What happens when a cocky tattooed bully intimidates a nice Asian kid? Yes, the nice Asian kid becomes a monster who destroys the cocky bully. In the process, he gained the approval of his Asian parents, which as we all know is an impossible thing to do.
My parents weren't supportive of me doing MMA. They almost disowned me for a bit. But they watched my last fight and they really are excited. They called me right away. Normally it's a phone call saying, "Why are you fighting? You don't fight. I born you not to fight," you know.
Not only did Ben Nguyen gain the approval of his parents right after this fight, but he also became a UFC prospect. And if Bruce Lee was alive, he'd probably say, "I fear not the man who has 10,000 tattoos, but I fear the man who has practiced 10,000 times. You see, this cocky attempt to bully a silent assassin resulted in one of the most satisfying knockouts of all time.
Against Ben, it was a nightmare, and I never want to feel like that again.
If I've lost that fight to a guy like that, it just proves that a bully can win, but I proved him wrong. That just blew up. Over 100 million views on Facebook and YouTube combined.
Everyone loves a cocky fighter getting destroyed. In other fights, this cocky Indian MMA fighter was knocked out in 2 seconds after he mocked his opponent, flirted with the ring girls, and raps. Coming out with an entourage, this fighter called himself the Delhi Don and got destroyed right away by a perfect overhand as he charged in with a jab.
Oh! He's hurt! He's hurt! He's hurt!
In another legendary fight, cocky young Badr Hari claimed he'd become the champion for the next 15 years.
For the next 10 years, or maybe for the next 15 years, I will be the champion. And
after brawling with the Australian kickboxing legend Peter Graham, he was destroyed by a monster knockout. These instant karma fight moments are loved by fight fans, but perhaps no moment was as historic as this one. The nice Asian fighter versus cocky tattooed bully is perhaps the most loved fight in this category. It is interesting to listen to the cocky tattooed up bully. For some reason, he believes he's very giving and a true altruist.
Things that I do aren't done just for me. It isn't a selfish act. It's quite giving. It's quite generous. I'm lifting everything for everyone. And that's why I do it, whether people are gonna understand it or not.
Indeed, his attitude did ironically propel Ben Nguyen to incredible heights. The truth though, a real warrior does not need to be cocky to appear strong. He just is. After all, in the art of war, Sun Tzu said that,
"Appear weak when you are strong, strong when you are weak."
You see, a real fighter doesn't react to taunts and intimidate outside of the ring. They show their skills and settle the fight inside the ring. Ben Nguyen would later become a UFC prospect after this fight, and for great reasons. At the time of this fight, he had 14 wins and only 5 losses, ranking number 1 in the bantamweights in Australia. Growing up, he was no stranger to bullies. At only 12 years old, Ben started Taekwondo after he was picked on in school for being Asian.
I was put into martial arts when I was 12. After being bullied in middle school, I was pretty humiliated. It's kind of like a point where enough is enough.
So this silent assassin smile was him knowing that his childhood dream was about to come true.
So this tatted up guy decides to try to intimidate me. I just stood back and kind of laughed at him. In my head, I was just like, wait until tomorrow.
In his mind, he knew that this cocky bully was going to finally get destroyed by the nice Asian kid. You see, people who went to high school with him said Ben Nguyen is one of the kindest people and that he was a hell of a football player. With a football and Taekwondo background, that would explain all of his fast twitch movement from his footwork to his striking speed. Julian Wallace, aka Jules the Jackal on the other hand, is infamous for choking out his ex-girlfriend over buying the wrong noodles for him. Wallace also opened up a barbershop that banned women from the premises, so it's clear that he's not a loving person. He's also been knocked out by Cody Garbrandt's cousin for mouthing off during sparring. At the time of this fight, he was the champion of this organisation. His record was 5 wins and 1 loss, with all wins by knockouts or submissions.
120% a day. That's what it takes for me to make weight. I can't afford days off. I've worked so hard to make defeat unrecognizable. I try my best not to even understand the definition. I don't even want that word in my vocabulary. I work hard day in, day out to make sure that word is no longer understood.
Before the fight, Wallace refused the glove touch. The referee was disappointed.
Boys, just hook them up, get back to work. Or not.
When the fight started, for some reason the crowd was chanting Wallace's nickname, Jackal. You could tell right away that Wallace is stiff. His shoulders are elevated and tight. He's sinking his head down, but his guard isn't actually protective, leaving his head wide open. This is the worst of both worlds, a sign of terrible technique. On the other hand, you can see Ben in proper fight posture. His stance and guard is relaxed and yet protective of his head. Ben raises and lowers his guard at the right moments instead of keeping it constantly stiff like Wallace. That's why when Ben bursted in with 3 strikes, beginning with a left straight and right hook, Wallace could barely react except to run away. Just as the Jackal was circling out, Ben timed a perfect head kick to his chin. This could have ended the night, but Wallace was lucky that it didn't. Ben then dropped his hands and just stared at him, basically saying, "Not so badass now, are we, cocky bully?" With Wallace pouting from this exchange, the cocky guy then drops his hands to emulate Ben. This was Wallace trying to signal that it didn't do anything, but it clearly did. And when Ben put his hands up, he started smiling. We know what's about to happen with that sly smile. Ben knew that his speed and techniques were levels beyond Wallace, so he charged in with a 14 hit combination. Beginning with a left straight and right hook twice, he had Wallace on the back foot. With Wallace in a stiff tight shell, not being able to fire back, Ben simply continued firing. Just when the Jackal thought he was safe, a huge corkscrew uppercut lands. Knowing that he's hurt, the nice Asian kid continues charging in and lands a perfect cross just as the cocky bully was about to throw his first punch. Not only did Ben land the cross perfectly, but he also dodged the opponent's right hook at the perfect time. He then landed another right hook and then dodged his opponent's left hook again, dropping him in the process. Wallace was likely already finished, but Ben continued with ground and pound for good measure. The nice Asian kid landed 21 strikes and his cocky opponent threw 2 while missing 2. Here's what the Jackal said about the fight after.
I mean, people are gonna love you when you're up, when you're the king, and then, you know, they're gonna hate you when you're down. It's only a matter of time before people start getting bored. They want to start seeing you lose, right? Against Ben, it was a nightmare, and I never want to feel like that again. There are going to be things that life throw at you. It's how we come out of the tunnel, the other side. What's going to determine how we are going to evolve as humans, you know.
While all these things sound inspirational, Jackal never recovered to a winning record. He would lose his next fight also by knockout, then winning a fight before losing his final fight by a submission. Ben on the other hand would go super viral and continue his win streak to 9 in a row until he eventually lost in the UFC. After getting the opportunity to fight on the biggest stage, Ben would go 4-1 against tough prospects in the years 2015 to 2017. After the fight with Wallace, Ben got married to his training partner.
She's so lucky.
Yeah. I'm so lucky. Is she still out there or not?
No, she's not.
You'll be fine, bro.
Take a seat. Just relax, man.
Here's how they met.
Tiger Muay Thai held like a boat cruise party on Christmas Day. Me and her were on that. That's kind of how we met. We're getting married. We're doing the reception on that same boat. So it's kind of a cool reunion there.
You see, there are many things that Jackal said that were correct.
In every beginning there's an end, and in every end there's a new beginning.
He was a giving person to Ben, even if unintentionally. His cocky attitude made Ben one of the most famous fighters of all time. Jackal even made Ben's parents proud of him, an almost impossible accomplishment in Asian culture.
My parents weren't supportive of me doing MMA when I first started. They almost disowned me for a bit, but they watched my last fight and they really excited. They called me right away. "Why are you fighting? You don't fight. I born you not to fight," you know? It's like, but like that time it was completely opposite. They were really happy and they're really proud that I fought.
It's a beautiful martial arts story for Ben Nguyen, a truly legendary moment for him given to him by Julian Wallace. What do you think of this legendary fight? Please let us know in the comments and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.